And welcome into the Friday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. Hope everybody's off to a wonderful start of their day. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We got a lot to get into on the program here today. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. Looking ahead to the Titans and the Cardinals. Joe Rexrode, I think I know the answer, but how are you? What's going on?
Roar.
If you're looking at our video feed right now, it's just nothing but Rexrode's old Detroit Tigers shirt and the logo in the stream right now. It's beautiful.
Okay, that's all I could hold it. That's all I could hold it. Yes, I'm doing awesome. I'm celebrating the Tigers' huge win. I'm acting like I was there with them all along. I'm making fun of Guardians fans, including people I have multiple in-laws who are huge Guardians fans. So talking trash to them, talking trash on social media, even though I completely abandoned the Tigers and am a terrible fan, but I don't care.
You had absolutely zero faith. None whatsoever. But they pulled it off, baby. They get the win against the Guardians.
That's for you, Phil. That's for you, Grandma Pratt. That's for you, Grandma Pratt.
That's right.
Yeah, I got to say, man. Did not like the inning where all of a sudden it just the whole thing just exploded. It was just like, is this really happening right now? and then Stilly actually texted me. He texted me like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm feeling like we're about to blow a 5-run lead. Leave me alone. And then we had Will Vest, just drops one I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? But we won because we are a team.
Yes.
And we stuck together. Yay, us.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a victory for me too. I've adopted the Tigers. Everybody's rooting for the Tigers around here. What's that set up? The Mariners? Seattle? You're next, baby. You're on the list.
Right. Yeah. Good night, big dumper.
That's right.
What I hope we're saying.
I wouldn't pitch to him, but everybody else, you're fine. You pitch to everybody else.
That's right. Good night, moon. Good night, ass. Good night, big dumper.
Got several texts about the outstanding end to our program yesterday. Ian Safar, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. And fall break, I suppose, coming up. So looking forward to a fun weekend of football and fun weekend with the fam home next week.
Absolutely. It is fall break right around the corner. Rexrode, I guess the only thing that would have made the Tigers' victory sweeter yesterday for you would be if the Yankees would have lost to the Red Sox last night. That did not happen. The Yankees win 4-0 against the Red Sox. So the Tigers, the Cubs, and the Yankees all advancing yesterday. But you got halfway towards your perfect day yesterday. Had the Tigers won and the Yankees lost, you would have been insufferable, and Kuharski, I'm sure, would have received several text messages. Rexrode's first mute of the day. Took him 4 minutes. First mute of the day.
That had to have been an inadvertent mute. That's weird. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, well, I sent him this awesome. Here you can see the awesome Tigers logo right here.
Good.
That I was sending this around that my brother-in-law sent, but he responded, I remember when first round wins were a proud moment for my team. Oh wait, no, I don't.
Well, that's funny because he started tweeting about his first round win last night.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I was asleep before they won the game. And so I wake up to this text. Ho hum, an ALDS doesn't mean anything much either unless we win it. Cute that it's big for you. Shut up, Kuharski.
If you could hand draw a Kuharski text message, that would be it. But yeah, he tweeted last night at 9:45, quote, a real shame about Boston. There he is, throwing some shade at the Red Sox.
All right, I respect it. I tweeted about the Guardians' awesome division-winning banner ceremony next year. It's going to be so awesome. I got to say, in all seriousness, that Guardians team, they batted .226 this year, which is the worst in franchise history. They're bad. They're bad. That's the thing. The whole thing, I'm sitting there like, how could we freaking lose to these guys? How do we lose the division? And how could we possibly lose? So thank goodness. Now they can go back to bitching about their ownership.
Well, it's all worth it now. All the blowing the lead in September, it's all worth it now.
Well, it is funny because Tony Paul, buddy of mine who covers the Tigers, he tweeted out they have 4 wins since September 15th. 2 of them have resulted in champagne, celebrations. But I will say, see, this is where if you have an ace, so now Scooble can go in game 2, and he can go if needed in a game 5.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it's kind of like, can you figure out another win in there? So yeah, that's where the power of having an ace is. And that's honestly the biggest thing for me in all seriousness is just getting more chances to watch him pitch in these moments because he is absurd.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And so the NLDS, you got the Cubs and the Brewers on one side of thing. Nice little rivalry there. Then the Dodgers and the Phillies. So that'll be fun. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. I've got extreme Dodgers fatigue, so I'm rooting for the Phillies in that one. So we'll see what happens on that front. AL, Yankees, Blue Jays, Tigers, Mariners. So that's the setup that we've got in the baseball playoffs right now. But big time for the program. The Tigers get it done. They win. And Robby and Rexrode's team advancing on in the Major League Baseball playoffs. It did lead to a fascinating idea that you put on the grid here. What sports team makes you irrational and why? The Tigers, definitely your answer. Is that the only one that you got left that really just makes you irrational at this point?
It really is. It really is. It's hard to explain why that would be. Like with, I was a huge Pistons and Red Wings fan growing up. I don't really, it's hard to explain why that would be. But I want them to do well, but I'll never have I guess, it's like you say that and it's like maybe one of them puts together an incredible team or, and you get more into it, I guess. But I don't think so. I just think baseball is different for me. And I know for some people, baseball's like a non-entity, which makes me sad. I mean, it makes me sad that baseball, I think if you're of my age, of my generation, you remember when baseball really was still kind of, that was the argument was what's more important, baseball or football, and
right.
And now there's no contest now. But I think it just has to do probably with being a kid. There is something about baseball that I think is a little different than every other sport. I mean, it's the fact if you're really into a team and you have 162 of those games, 3 hours every day, you know what I mean? Like you get a connection to these teams like you can't with those other sports just because there's more time with them. Maybe
every day.
That's part of it. Yeah, but yeah, for whatever reason, I have continued to be very, and I was irrational. I mean, like if you would have seen some of the texts that my brother and I were sharing, and my brother-in-law, we're all screaming about, oh my God, how the hell is he batting third? Oh my God, great job batting him third. Wenzel Perez got a huge hit. I mean, he'd been like 0 for his last 20 or whatever, complaining, screaming, yell at the TV, stuff like that. As any sports fan who's listening knows the feeling at certain times. But yeah, I got one team in the world that's like that for me.
I mean, I was thinking about this when you put this on the grid yesterday. I mean, mine really are 2 at this point, I think. Like it's Tennessee football and it's Green Bay Packer football. Like that's what it is. Like mine's all football right now. Like I've gone through some stretches like back when the Heat were in the finals a couple years ago. Like I'm all in, but like I used to be NBA like regular season game number 38 on a Tuesday night all in, and I am not that anymore. I'll watch them if like the Heat come on and they're playing, but I don't have the same level of connection to it that I used to. It's probably because Dwayne Wade's not there anymore. That was my guy. So like Dwayne Wade was my player. So
right.
Anytime I got the chance to watch him play, I did it. So that's probably that. But yeah, like it, I used to be, and there's some people that used to sit in cell block 303 and saw like a 13-year-old teenager Robby Stanley screaming at officials that will vouch that he was insane for the Nashville Predators. So like I've gone through different stretches in my life, but like right now it's like the Vols and the Packers. That's about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too for people who are in sports media. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I mean, obviously, I hate the Lions, so that's set that aside. I also covered them some actually for the Lansing State Journal in the late '90s.
Yeah.
So when you cover something, and obviously, I mean, I grew up, I love Michigan and Michigan State, but then that becomes your job, and you're just,
It's just different.
You have to detach from it. I mean, I know that there's some folks. There's some folks covering college football who don't.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
there's
there are.
no doubt about that. But to me, it's like I don't. It's hard to wrap my head around that. It's like once you start having to do it for your job, it's just a totally different deal. And baseball. Now, I did in 2012 in the World Series. They threw at the Detroit Free Press. They threw me on the World Series coverage team, so I had to go. Actually, I had to like go interview Anibal Sanchez after they lost to the Giants about whether he's going to come back to the Tigers. That was, so like, I guess
Please come back, Anibal.
Yeah, exactly. Please, are you? I mean, so I'm sitting there in that press box having to like be professional as the Tigers completely crumble and get swept. And I'm sitting next to Mitch Albom and, having to be, Mr. Professional. But that's the only real time I've ever had to do that. Other than that, it's always been fandom,
Yeah. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. That's where we're starting today. What sports team make you irrational, and why do they make you irrational? Coming up later this hour, what is more surprising, Vanderbilt and their start to the season, or Joey Aguilar and Tennessee's offense? We'll get into all that. The Rex Rant later in the program. Teron Davenport will join us at 8 o'clock. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Throwing it out there. Which sports teams make you irrational and why? Ian, you got any sports teams that just drive you nuts?
You know what? Not so much anymore. No. Early on, it was definitely, I was a big Knicks fan, big New York Knicks fan. My dad's from New York, so I lived there for a couple of years before moving here. So I was a big Knicks fan growing up in the 90s, when the glory days, of course, of the NBA. I was, but then kind of became a Preds fan for a hot minute. We had season tickets the first year they came. I was in high school. So we had season tickets for a good little while, but not so much anymore, man. I've never had a team that I've really carried or like cared for or loved win a championship. And so I don't know.
So
I guess
cursed.
that's gone. Yep.
Ian's been cursed.
I'll never experience that. I don't think at this point, given the lack of true passion I have for sports teams anymore and true fandom. You guys mentioned it, but once you're in this kind of business for a little while, that it starts to erode, and it's hard to find, especially with the local teams. And I've been here since 1997 already, so it's hard to just become a fan of other teams at this point.
Yeah.
So no, I'm pretty much donezo.
That's depressing, but yes. But I get it. And I think that is, for me, like, that's why I hold on to the Tigers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, because it is good to, like, if anybody's seen the, like the video of Robby when Tennessee beat Bama, like, that's awesome. Like, that's great to be able to have that, which of course was the follow-up to many, many opposite moments.
Oh, yeah.
On the third Saturday in October, so like it's good to have stuff like that. But yeah, it definitely is harder in this. Brian on the text line says, there's a time my wife refused to watch the Titans games with me because I get so erratic over the games, good or bad. Now we just sit in silence and disbelief. He also says, I'm with you, Joe, which I miss baseball being one of the top dogs like it was back in the 90s. Yeah, back in the 90s, back in the 1890s, back in, it used, it's, you got to be a certain age, but it's like, 100 years ago, we had baseball, college football, horse racing, and boxing.
Yeah. And horse racing good back then, man. Really good stuff.
Oh, yeah. I guess some golf, too.
Of course. You always got to throw the golf in there. Like, my buddy just texted me, and he's like, well, unfortunately, I'm still extremely passionate about the Tennessee Titans, and I wonder if that sickness is ever going to leave me. And I was like, well, I don't know. They're going to win again at some point, Joe. At some point, Titans will be good again. So just hang in there, Titans fans.
Listen, they really will. Even I understand right now we're in this situation where it's like, okay, this is one of the bad organizations. It's hard, like, objectively. Like, I think you're being intellectually dishonest if you don't start to go there.
Yeah.
Right. But even those, which again, the Lions, great example, the Browns, the Cardinals, whatever. Right now, I know the Panthers are in that where it's like everybody would just please sell the team, David Tepper. Even those teams, this league is designed to not allow you to screw it up forever. So all the people who are hanging here and talking about the Titans and suffering through it every Sunday, it will be that much sweeter when it turns. When that is, I cannot tell you.
I don't have a date in mind.
That kind of is like that's the reward of fandom, if you actually stick it out.
Predemption on the YouTube chat says, are they, Robby? Are they going to win again? I think so. At some point. At some point, they will win. And here's this, Joe. At some point, they're going to win like multiple games in a row. That will happen at some point. It may be 2029, but it will happen at some point.
When's the last time that did happen? I don't know. 2022 at some point? Was that?
Probably. Maybe. They may have rolled off a couple in a row in 2023.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a while, man. It has been a long time. I know they didn't do it last year. So, even that by itself is a long time. Like you at some point in an NFL season should win a couple games in a row.
No, not in 2023 either.
Okay, so it's been since 2022. I would assume they did it at some point in 2022
So
before the
again,
collapse at the end of the year.
yeah. So essentially, before Amy Adams decided to fire John Robinson in season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a good stretch in 2022.
Yeah.
Week 3,
Oh, yeah.
4, 5, 6.
Winning all sorts of
That
games.
was a bye week in 6, 7, 8. So that was 5 wins in a row. Then an overtime loss to Kansas City, and then 2 more wins, and then the straight L's. So they're 7-3.
I mean, 2 weeks before she fired John Robinson, I'm in Robbie's favorite stadium talking to like Kevin Byard after they beat the Packers about how this is this team can win a championship.
Yeah.
Now, they lost to the Bengals in a close game, and then the Eagles smoked them on a bad day and all the AJ Brown stuff. But like, seriously, that was the conversation about that team before the GM got fired in season.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
Well, we mentioned like the payoff. Like if you're a Titans fan going through the mud right now with this franchise, like I think about this weekend, and we're going to get into this matchup a little bit later in the show, but like of the Vanderbilt football fan, particularly like the Vanderbilt football fan that's just been trotting out there over on West End for years and years, just watching your team get your head beat in conference play, and to sit through that and to then have a moment like this weekend. Well, I mean, even a moment like last year, right? Like you're paid off with the Alabama win at home, but to set up this weekend where you've got an undefeated Vanderbilt, Alabama on the road, and college game day is in Tuscaloosa. Like it just to sit through all of that. Like think back to, not to throw shade at Derek Mason, but like the end of the Derek Mason tenure at Vanderbilt and how bad it was, and the very beginning of Clark Lee's tenure and how bad it was. And there have been different kind of examples and time periods for Vanderbilt fans that you can point to. But sitting through that and then thinking about how different it feels right now heading into this weekend.
No question. Got an incredible example. And look, I know some locals who are lifetime Vanderbilt fans, and a lot of it is like you have to have a sense of humor, right?
Yes.
But I mean, I don't know that it's a huge number of people who have stuck it out through all this, but yeah, they absolutely deserve stuff like this. Dan Wolken had a good piece about Vandy at Yahoo, and talking about, because he was, of course, a student. He was a student at Vanderbilt.
Friend of the show.
That was like, yeah, that's right. Friend of the show, Dan Wolken. Best friend of Robbie Stanley. Best friend of Vols fans.
Oh, yes.
But he, talking about how it was like going to the game, like tour guides on campus, like student tour guides would like make fun of the football team, like going to games as a student was like you were doing it just like ironically. You weren't like serious, like
Community service.
Yeah, I mean, right. And then to see it now, I mean, even like talking to Barton Sims this week, he's like, that win over Florida a few, like, what was that, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
The win over Florida, they beat, yeah. And he's like, it's like they got fined for a field rushing, but it was like a handful of students, single file, came down to high five them, And he's like, then you look at last year, Alabama. Who really thought they were going to beat Alabama that day? I mean, no one.
Yeah.
But the student section was packed. It was crazy, and it was a real field rushing with a goal. And it's like that right there is, the difference too. But yeah, the people who have been there through the whole thing, man, that's one of the all-time, like, loyal fan stories that deserves what they're getting now.
Well, speaking of Vanderbilt, I want to throw this question Joe's way. I want to throw this question everybody's way. What has been more surprising to begin the season? Has it been the start for Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia, undefeated at 5-0 heading into Alabama, or Tennessee's offense looking as good as it has with Joey Aguilar coming in basically in May? We'll take your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025. That's coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. If you're wondering where to go watch some NFL games this Sunday, come on down to Twin Peaks in Madison, home of the 29-degree beer, and join 102.5 The Game for the pregame show before the Titans take on the Cardinals. Pregame show brought to you by Old National Bank and Circus Sportsbook, Kentucky. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. So, Joe, I want to throw this question your way. What has been more surprising to you to begin the college football season? Is it Vanderbilt's 5-0 start? You got Diego Pavia in the very early Heisman Trophy conversation, and there's obviously a huge game that we'll get to coming up this weekend against Alabama. I mean, I think a lot of people around the country, deservedly so, are stunned by what Vanderbilt has done to this point. And then on the other side, you've got Tennessee, who was the story of the offseason in college football when Nico Iamaleava bolted for UCLA. They bring in Joey Aguilar, and basically their offense heading into the year for most people was an afterthought. It was like, well, they're going to be in big trouble with Joey Aguilar as their starting quarterback, and they're going to take a significant step back. And through 5 games, he's thrown for almost 1,500 yards, almost 300 yards a game, 13 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, was like a play away from beating the Georgia Bulldogs. Tennessee sits at 4-1, has one of the best offenses in the country. And I would assume, Joe, like if you were putting together a Bolitnikoff award watch list, it probably wouldn't take very long before you got to Chris Brazzell to this point in the season. So I think both pretty stunning in their own right. Which one more surprising to you? Vanderbilt's 5-0 start, or how Tennessee has looked with their offense with Joey Aguilar getting there basically in May to be the quarterback?
I'd actually say Tennessee. Now, I guess if you just asked this question and just without knowing what was going on and just said Vanderbilt 5-0, and you said Tennessee is 4-1 right now, then I might say Vanderbilt because I didn't think they'd be 5-0. But I did think they'd be really good. I thought they'd be really good on offense. And I didn't think like Virginia Tech or South Carolina were impossible, And to me, it's just, I had real concern. So Vanderbilt's definitely better. And it's still a surprise. Didn't think they'd be 5-0 on game day going to Bama. But I really had concerns for Tennessee. I mean, I'm the genius who said, I got Merklinger starting, even though they just picked up this Aguilar. I mean, he led the nation in picks last year. I don't know how much Appalachian State football you watched last year. I didn't watch much.
Not much.
But, it's like you look at his history, and it's like, great job getting to that point, to the point where you can get to App State and then you can get a shot at, granted, a total cheeks program, but still Power 4 program. But when the Vols, and we know the Vols were all over the place with all these different quarterbacks, Altmaier, and who have we figured out? Altmaier,
I
Avery
think they
Johnson,
took a look at Avery Johnson for sure. Yeah.
I think a couple others.
Yeah.
I mean, he was down the list, and it was kind of like, okay, I guess we'll take the freaking UCLA guy, and look at what he's done. So, I mean, the way he's played, he's a legit good quarterback. I think he fits perfectly in this offense, and also the receivers that we were so worried about. Like you said, Brazzell is one of the best receivers in the country, and it hasn't been perfect. I mean, Staley had a tough time for a lot of that Mississippi State game, but like, they're good. That offense is the best it's been since they were unbelievable in 2022. So I got to give that the edge over Vanderbilt.
This is really hard for me because I think both are pretty surprising. Like Tennessee, I said this heading into the year. Tennessee, I think under Heupel has reached a point where they've got a baseline of talent. Like, even with all the questions we had about quarterback in the offense, what did I say heading into the year? I was like, you line up their schedule on paper, and they're probably going to be favored in 9 of their 12 games. And that was taking into account Georgia, Alabama, and at the time, Florida. We'll see what that looks like as time moves on here. But, I think there's a baseline of talent that Tennessee will have now under Josh Heupel because of the job that they've done recruiting, NIL, and all those things. So to your point, like Tennessee being 4-1 doesn't surprise me at all. It's exactly where I think I and everybody else had them, right? Like everybody had them losing to Georgia, And I don't think anybody else had them losing any of those other games. So I'm not surprised Tennessee is 4-1. I am surprised that Vanderbilt's 5-0. They had a heck of a start last year, and obviously the Alabama game, and Pavia got hurt as the year went on, and I think limited the effectiveness of the offense. But we saw glimpses of it last year, right? Like when Pavia was healthy, especially, you could see how dangerous the Vanderbilt team was. I did not expect the 5-0 start. The one win that has just floored me so far, and I know that Sellers got hurt in the game, was South Carolina. But, Joe, it's not even really that they've started 5-0. It's how they've looked doing it. They have been dominant. Like, they have dominated all of these teams. And I know they struggled in the first half for a little while against Virginia Tech, and then they came out and put together, I don't think it's hyperbole to say, one of the best halves in the history of Vanderbilt football against Virginia Tech to start that, or to finish that game out. So to me, it's not only the 5-0 start, it's how dominant they've looked while doing it that I will give the slight edge to Vanderbilt. I think both are very surprising when you factor in the Tennessee offense. But Vanderbilt has absolutely destroyed most people they've played so far. I know they played with their food a little bit for a while against Utah State, but I mean, they ended up, and there was never a doubt as to who was going to win that game between Vanderbilt and Utah State. They have mopped the floor with everyone to this point.
Yeah, and it's so obviously Trey Richardson is one of the pickup from. I mean, my gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head what school he's from, but it's like you had no idea with that guy. They made some ads. I think the big thing, a tackle from South Dakota and one from Arizona, and it is a difference, man. It's a huge difference up front. They just look like. And we're going to find out because obviously, but I think we did find out some in the South Carolina game. And you're playing against that is a defense with talent, with absolute talent, no question about it. SEC talent, and just really toyed with them all night on offense. So yeah, that I agree. That to me was like, YouTube chatter says South Carolina has sucked so far this season, though Virginia Tech sucks. Yes, I understand that, but Virginia Tech did just beat NC State, whatever that means. The ACC is a mess, but they got maybe the coach bumped. They got their coach fired. Still, like that, negative yardage in a half for a Power 5 team with some talent in its own, in its own stadium. And then again, South Carolina losing the quarterback. South Carolina, they blew out Kentucky last week. They're obviously not going to have the kind of season that people thought. I think Illinois is in the same boat. I think both of them are going to end up being overhyped, and I kind of thought that might be true of both of them. But they're also not like that. Like I think they're going to be a winning team, and they have talent. So I don't discount it, But yeah, I go the Tennessee way because I was like, I thought this might be a step backward on offense, and it's been a step backward. And instead it's this huge, like, oh my gosh, look at this offense. It can work. And it's like, how did these pieces bring that about? This desperate situation, scouring the country for a quarterback, plus just so many questions. Mike Matthews was going to get in the portal, and it's like, is he good? And all of a sudden it's just like, oh, here they are. They're back to going super fast, and they can put 40 on anybody.
Well, it is amazing when you think about just the expectations heading into the year from the quarterback position. Like Hendon Hooker leaves, and it was like, well, Joe Milton could throw the ball 95 yards in the air. They're going to be just airing it out all year long. And the offense was not great that year. They could run the ball. Like they've always been able to run the ball. But the passing offense, I think, left a lot to be desired that year. Nico Iamaleava comes in, 5-star. Everybody was excited, thought that he was going to be the guy that led them to the promised land. He did lead them to the college football playoff, but like Dylan Sampson, a huge part of that. Like the passing offense, I think, left a lot to be desired. And for this to be the offense that looks the most like 2022, it's probably not 2022, but it looks the most like it, is kind of incredible when you really think about it. Like just the Aguilar got here in basically May. Brazel looks like a completely different person than he was a year ago. And I know some people will say, well, that's just because, the quarterback's not overthrowing him every play. I don't think it's that. Like, I think he's gotten a lot better, a whole lot better from last year to this year. And like, this is, their receiving core right now, Joe, I don't think it's any question about it. Their receiving core is in as good of a spot as they've been in since certainly Hyatt and Tillman were on the field together.
No question. Yeah. And so it's just, I mean, I think it's definitely like a validation of, because anytime the last couple of years, I never really bought it because to me, it's like, the offense works if you execute it. But there was definitely some, people have figured out this offense. And I'm like, I don't think that's it. Milton, again, the offense and the NFL stuff, that's a separate thing. The offense being able to work in college, it still does. Now, can you win it all? There's another, we'll see. We'll see if a team can, with this offense, win it all. But that Milton year, that wasn't, we weren't shocked by that because it was like, yes, he can throw it a mile, but, there are questions about him. That's why he lost the job in the first place. But last year, certainly, especially early, which I'd forgotten, but like whenever they put 60 some on some, Nico made a couple throws, you're like, oh my gosh, okay, here it is. It was a 1 year dip. So then when it becomes another year of like really just leaning on the D in the running game, yeah, it's just the idea that all of a sudden you'd have it right back this year. I expected a third year of that, and it's almost like the identity of the program is changing. But no, it's not. they can light it up again, which is exciting. Of course, you also for both of these teams, both of these quarterbacks are going to be gone next year.
So let's take your thoughts on this. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. What has been more surprising to start the college football season? Has it been Vanderbilt's 5-0 start, undefeated heading into Alabama, or Joey Aguilar and the way that Tennessee's offense has looked? 615-737-1025. We'll continue this discussion coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What has been more surprising to begin the college football season? Vanderbilt's 5-0 start, undefeated heading into Alabama, or Tennessee's offense and how good they've looked with Joey Aguilar coming in? Joe has voted Tennessee. I'm giving the slight edge to Vanderbilt with the surprise level to begin the college football season. Now, I will say this, Joe. If Vanderbilt turns 5-0 into 6-0, then I think that the answer probably shifts for everybody at that point.
Yeah, it's not close at that point. It's yeah. Hey, can I do something real quick just to respond to Brett on the text line
Sure.
by WilsonCountyHyundai.com 615-737-7125. He said, when did Karski become Edith Bunker? And I'm like, he has been. So Brett's offering is $50 to Karski's favorite charity if I just do this real quick. Let's see. Okay, ready? Boy, the way Glenn Miller played songs that made the hit parade. Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days. There you go. $50, Kaharski. Use it well. Thank you, Brett.
It's beautiful. Well done.
It's all in the family, by the way. For anybody who doesn't know him.
My husband, Archie Bunker.
There we go, baby.
The
There
similarities are uncanny. Just uncanny out there. Absolutely beautiful. Well, on that note, we'll continue the discussion.
Sorry.
No,
back to the discussion.
It was well worth it. It was well worth it on the program. Like I said, if Vanderbilt makes 5-0, 6-0, then I think the answer shifts to that point. One thing that's going to be really interesting to watch from here, because I do think, and you can hear it in Josh Heupel's voice after the game and earlier this week in the press conference. I don't think he's very happy with the offense on Saturday against Mississippi State. Now, they had, obviously some big drives and big moments. Like, I thought Aguilar was really good on the drive to go down and tie the game. And then you score on the first play in overtime, so you feel good about that part of it. But, I think he feels like they left a lot of things out there against Mississippi State. As the season goes on, does the offense continue to be productive from this standpoint? Like, they have basically, Joe, already gotten into the mold where it's 3 wide receivers and no one else. Like that game against Mississippi State, it was Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley, Chris Brazel, and that's basically it. There wasn't nobody else playing. And, they've got some injuries right now at tight end. So it was basically Miles Kitselman the whole time until the very last drive where they put, a 2 tight end set in there and ran the ball. So with that in mind, it's their bye week now. We'll see how healthy they are coming out of it and if Ethan Davis gets back in there and all that stuff. But they're about to go through a pretty long grind here. Can they keep those 3 wide receivers healthy? Because at some point along the way in every season, they've had some injuries at wide receiver that they've had to battle through. They have not yet to this point. And those 3 guys, I think, are playing really well. So when they're healthy, they should be the ones out there. But I wonder how much they can hold up playing the way that they play moving forward.
It's a great question. What are the next 3? Who are the next 3?
Well, I mean, they're all freshmen, basically.
Yeah.
And there's Amari Jefferson floating around there somewhere.
Any idea, if there was a serious injury, how they would deal with it?
No, I don't.
It's not ideal. I mean, it is exactly what happens in terms of they talk about all these different guys. And again, they've had some guys before who were young, who weren't ready, who were talented, who were seeing at other places. You can see they can play, right? And maybe, some of them play a little bit, but didn't get enough, so they're out of here. I mean, obviously, if you're Josh Heupel, that's the depth you wanted to keep, and that's the competition that you would figured make everybody better. And then you have 2s at those positions that you can plug in. But yeah, like they might be in deep doo-doo if they lose one of those guys.
Yeah, like they really like Travis Smith, who's a true freshman at wide receiver. Like he's 6'3", 210. So like they're from a body type perspective, whether it's him, they got Rodarius Jackson, like they got some people, some young wide receivers that they feel really good about. But we know this. This is what Heupel does. Like when they get into the thick of things in conference play, they're playing 3. Like that's what it is. They're going to play 3 wide receivers. So can those guys stay healthy?
You got to play fast, and everybody's got to be on the same page. And it's not that easy. I mean, that's the thing in some ways, playing receiver in this offense, even though maybe the route tree, you know, is more simplified from like a pro style offense or whatever. Like some of the elements of playing receiver in this offense are more difficult. So, and that's where it's, and look, again, this is a 2025 college football program, but you got those promising players. In some offenses, you can throw in the freshmen and it's fine, but I think it is harder in this offense. And that's where that gap between the promising real young guys and the starters is where you wish you had a guy or two who instead they're starting somewhere else, South Florida or wherever.
Yeah. Joe, I completely realize that there's still a long way left to go in the season. And who knows? Like Vanderbilt may go out there and just get smoked by Alabama this weekend. But I got a feeling that they're probably going to hang in there and be competitive and be, in the game, late into the game. We'll see how the rest of the schedule goes. We talked about some matchups that they've got coming up and maybe LSU and Texas not looking as strong as we thought heading into the season. So there's still a lot of information left to gather here. But as far as the job done by Clark Lee to this point, how do you kind of put it into scope? Because like one of the things that stood out to me when your answer wasn't 5-0 Vanderbilt to start, and I'm not saying you're wrong at all, but I'm just saying what a testament to Clark Lee and the job that he's done, and obviously Diego Pavia, that Vanderbilt's 5-0, and it's not everybody's runaway answer that's the most shocking thing. Like, I think that kind of tells you what Clark Lee has done.
Yeah. Well, he's done an incredible job without question because, look, a year and, 14 months ago, we had segments on the show about, man, I mean, he's got to be real close to being out, right? After that disastrous 23 season, which I know inside the building, to them, that was the best thing that could have happened to them. Not getting, not being on the hot seat or whatever, but that kind of showing everybody at Vanderbilt, either the money starts coming in hard to be competitive or you have no chance. You have no chance. And so that was the eye opener. Now Dan Wolken, negative Nelly that he is, like I said, he wrote a good piece this week. He also pointed out, and I know I've seen plenty of people point out, okay, what happens after Pavia? Is this sustainable after Pavia? And it's a fair question. You've seen it before with other program, kind of upstart programs. You have a great quarterback and then they leave and shoot. Kirk Cousins, it was like there was a time of like, okay, is D'Antonio really that good, or was it just that he had Kirk Cousins and he eventually proved it? But yeah, it's a fair question. You have to have, because Pavia has been so, I think, not just a great player, but also like he just has totally changed the vibe over there, right? Like, like few players I've seen where it's like, and again, it's he just talks more trash than anybody ever, but like they all follow him. Like that is, you're not just losing a guy who runs the offense well and all that stuff. You're losing like the heartbeat of the program. So yeah, it's a fair question moving forward. Now, one thing is any Vanderbilt fan listening to this right now should be like, shut up. Can we enjoy the moment? And I agree. But when you bring up Clark Lee and the job he's done, it's an incredible job. There will be, okay, who's next? And can you keep this progressing in this league where it's just so hard, so deep, so competitive, to be there. But I think Vanderbilt's in the fight now. Like financially and all the things. And I think Clark is a good coach. He's been a good coach. I mean, Clark Lee, to me, if you look at Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, Clark Lee, you could argue saved Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. So he's been a good football coach. But to turn it here, and there's other things in play. There's Candace Lee and there's Daniel Diemeyer, but to turn it here, I mean, you would think that like National Coach of the Year awards would be on the table for him.
Yeah, you would think so. And again, there's a long way to go in the regular season. I understand that, but it's pretty incredible that they have looked as good as they've looked to begin the season. And we're going to find out a whole lot tomorrow about where exactly they are heading into Tuscaloosa. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We will get back into the Vanderbilt and Alabama game a little bit later in the program. Coming up next, the Titans do play this weekend against the Arizona Cardinals. And there was a comparison made about a Titan a few months ago that I'd love to revisit with Joe Rexrode now. We'll do that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up later this hour at 7:45. Teron Davenport from ESPN will be with us at 8 o'clock, and we will look ahead to the Titans and the Arizona Cardinals with TD a little bit later in the program. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's head to our 102.5 The Game phone line and welcome in Jared in Spring Hill to the program. Jared, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, good morning. I got one thing about a past episode and then getting into the game this weekend. You know, I've been a bad fan. I didn't listen the other day. I can't listen to the whole thing, so I have to go back and listen to the podcast. But I'm really happy that PK cleared up the air about who's been making these draft picks with Brinker over Borgonzi. And I thought it was hilarious that Joe was about to lose his head whenever PK said about 5 times that it was Brinker who's been making the picks and has personnel and has in his clause of his contract. And in the back of his mind, I thought it was Borgonzi. So I'm glad PK has cleared the air there.
Thank you.
Joe, you're not crazy.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I heard the same thing.
Thank you.
All right. But yeah, I don't just looking forward to this weekend. Again, the Titans are 0-4, but I really think that this is not an equally matched team, but I feel like Arizona is working through some flaws, not as big flaws as we are. And I just really hope that we're going to be able to contain Kyler Murray and he's not be able to make these off scripts. He's kind of like a little upgraded version from Cam. I feel like there's similarities in each one of their games. And I don't know about the status of Ridley. I know he's kind of been on the injury list. But that's just not going to spell well if we don't have him. And I mean, at least for something like that. So looking forward to the game. I'm trying to be positive this week, fellas. Low T Titans, tighten up.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. Well, he mentioned similarities between Ward and Kyler Murray there, Joe, and it makes me think back to the draft process and our good friend Dane Brugler, friend of the show. He did, his beast breakdown of all the draft prospects and obviously spent a lot of time on Cam Ward. And I want to just read one graph from his breakdown of Ward and the comparison that he made. It says, overall, Ward must button up his drifting footwork and cut down on the reckless habits, but he is a loose, instinctive passer who can rip accurate strikes with a natural rhythm to his play. With his talent and intangibles, he projects as an NFL starter in the mold of a taller, slower version of Kyler Murray. Now, Joe, I remember us talking about that at the time. Like, okay, a taller, slower Kyler Murray. And the text line did not like that. They did not like the Kyler Murray comparison to Cam Ward. They want better than Kyler Murray, and I don't blame them. I would want better than Kyler Murray as well. Murray, so far this year, the Cardinals are 2-2. Murray has completed 66.9% of his passes, thrown for 742 yards. He's got 6 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, 5.7 yards per attempt. Probably should have more touchdowns and more yards. Been some drops. Marvin Harrison Jr. has dropped some footballs so far this year. As we know, Titans have had their fair share of drops as well. But no, now that we have seen Cam Ward, albeit only through 4 games to begin his NFL career, looking back at Brugler's comparison, a taller, slower version of Kyler Murray, does that still hold to you? What do you make of that comparison?
I hate it less. Yeah, at first I was like, that's weird. But I've hated it less over time. I think the idea of just the ability to evade, elude, extend, and then make some ridiculous throws. Kyler Murray to me sometimes, I think it's his height and it's his background. It's probably just because that he was a huge prospect in baseball. But to me, he looks like a shortstop turn a double play sometimes, with some of these throws. And it's like, it almost looks like he's running around. Like the stuff he has done, he's had some, like that play against the Raiders where he goes one side, he goes the other side, he ends up running it in. I don't think, Cam Ward can't do stuff like that. But I would ask Titans fans. But I do think there's a stylistic, I see it in terms of the ball comes out right? He rips it after a lot. I mean, one of the best plays we've seen from Cam Ward so far. It's those plays where it's a broken play and he extends it and then he makes a throw that you're like, geez, Now, I would ask Titans fans if you would take, at this point, if you would take that level of play and be happy with it. Because, Kyler Murray, certainly he deserves some of the crap he takes. We've had a lot of fun on the video game stuff on this show. He's not one of the top quarterbacks, but I mean, like, he's won a lot of football games. He's had a lot of massive performances. He's gotten to the playoff, like it's not like he's been, and it's also not like he's had great teams. So I know that, of course, you want more than that for your number one overall pick, which is, of course, what he is too. But are there any Titans fans who'd be like, you know what, still gives you a chance to play winning football?
I mean, yeah, it gives you a chance. I mean, look, right now, and again, it's 4 games in, so I'm not going to make a big deal about this. But I mean, right now, Ward, his numbers aren't close to Kyler Murray. I mean, we're talking about a 66.9% completion percentage for Kyler, and Cam Ward's at 51. So there's a lot of work left to do. There's a lot of factors that go into that as well. I mean, really, Joe, I think the one big difference, other than the size, obviously, between Murray and Ward is, like, Murray will take off running. Like, I mean, back in 2020, Murray ran for 819 yards and 11 touchdowns. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see that from Cam Ward at any point. I mean, already this year, Murray has run 25 times for 148 yards in 4 games. So, like, he will, I think Cam wiggles around back there and looks to throw the ball down the field. And Kyler Murray will do that too, but I think Kyler Murray is much quicker to run. I think they call a lot more design runs for him. So that part of the comparison has always kind of bothered me because, I mean, Cam Ward's just not going to do that. Like, Cam Ward will take off time to time, but Cam Ward, you're not going to have a season where Cam Ward's rushing for 819 yards in the National Football League.
Right. No question.
So it's one of those. It's one of those things too, where, like, I don't know if there is a perfect comparison, but I will say, like, think back to his first career touchdown pass. I mean, there's a lot of guys that came to mind when he did that, Mahomes being one of them. But even the play he made last week, the first drive, right? Like, he gets out of the pocket, escapes pressure, does a little hop step, and then finds, I think it was Io Manor, like 30 yards down the field. It was one of about 3 offensive plays all day where you're like, oh, look at there for the Titans. Like, that's got the kind of stuff that Murray does.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously Brugler basing all that draft stuff off college tape. I mean, at Miami, definitely there were some plays where he impossibly somehow stayed upright in the pocket for some of these plays, and he just looked this way, that way, this way, eluding. Guys are falling all over themselves, and he makes a throw. That's the Kyler Murray. But like you said, yeah, the actual threat as a runner part of it, I don't think that'll ever be really a part of Cam Ward's game. He's not very fast. I mean, he has quick feet and he can elude. He has a sense. I think that's part of it too, like just a feel in the pocket, or it's like, how the heck did he see that guy or know he was coming and know to duck or go this way or that way? That's the comparison. But yeah, look, of course you want more. I do think and actually I think Arizona is pretty good. Like, as a team, they've actually built up. They've got some guys on defense. I know they've got terrible running back injuries right now, but they're pretty good. And I do think that Kyler Murray probably is a little bit disrespected relative to, like, what he's done. It hasn't been anything great, of course. And when you go where he did in the draft, that's the thing too, right? It's like, I feel like you're unless you are great, then you're a disappointment. But he's been better than I think probably some people would guess.
I mean, last year he threw for almost 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, 11 picks, completed 68.8% of his passes. Like, it's not mind-blowing numbers. It was pretty good. Like, it's pretty good stuff.
His numbers are good, but they don't really win a lot there.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's not really leading to a lot of wins. On the field, what you got to hope is off the field, Ward and his leadership and his demeanor is better in the locker room than Kyler Murray.
We've already got questions on the YouTube chat about how good Cam Ward is at Call of Duty. So, I don't know.
He does like to play video
Nice.
games, right?
We know he's good at Fortnite.
So, off the
That's
field,
right.
you got to hope that's where the comparisons kind of stop. And Ward can be like the leader that Kyler Murray kind of gets, knocked down for not being.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he has 4 seasons of just on the verge of 4,000, and all of them were 20-plus touchdowns and, like 26-12 TD to pick in 20.
Yeah.
24-10 and 21. But I agree with you, Ian. I mean, and I think we're already seeing like a better, well, I guess, unless people are, unless wee ass is really bothering people that much. Can't believe it took us this long into the show to say it. But I agree. I mean, I like the whole Marvin Harrison thing.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on there. But Kyler Murray seems like a dude who like is not that hard to dislike in his own locker room.
Yeah.
And gets into beefs with people. And so I have to think that he probably has some of the responsibility for that whole thing with Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. And I don't think that's going to be a thing with Cam Ward at all.
I want to read
people are talking to him about what he says.
I want to read to you this opening graph of the beast for Ward and just see if you think it matches up to what you've seen to this point. This is from Brugler. Quote, with his quick load and fire, Ward is a perfect fit for the RPO game and quick drops. He's elusive in the pocket, has an innate feel for casually operating around pressure to buy extra time, although he needs to find a happier medium between his nonchalant style and playing with the urgency required. He reads well in structure and throws with anticipation, but each game tape includes examples of questionable forced decisions with negative results. Overall, Ward must button up his drifting footwork and cut down on the reckless habits, but he is a loose, instinctive passer who can rip the accurate strikes with a natural rhythm to his play, and that's when he gets into the Kyler Murray comparison there. Does that match up?
That's pretty good.
I think so. Yeah.
It's not bad. And Brugler puts in the work, man. He puts in the work. And the work is watching film, and the work is also talking to people. It's talking to people who know him and things like that. There's a reporting element to it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much spot on. I mean, people kind of dogged him on the Kyler Murray thing, which I understand. I would not, that would not have immediately come to my mind. But now that we're sitting here, it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it more now.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll continue to look ahead to the Titans and the Arizona Cardinals coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
As you guys continue to get what plays are up and down throughout the week, do you at all lobby for more RPO opportunities? And why do you think you were able to excel like that so much in college?
You said RPOs?
Yes.
I just think it's just how I was bred from coming out of a wing T offense all the way to, spread offense throughout college and my time in Miami. And so I've always done RPOs my whole football life. And so it's really about seeing space, seeing leverage, and then if whoever the read is for that play, if he leaves, I can throw it, not hand it off. So once we get into it, I think it'll help us out a lot. But at the end of the day, we got to establish the run game. We got to establish a consistent pass game. And, at the end of the day, that's going to be what, makes us, be a good offense.
That's Cam Ward earlier this week discussing the RPO game and how comfortable he is with that. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. We will get into that with TD a little bit later in the show. He's coming up at 8 o'clock here on the program. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Let's head to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Ed in New Jersey to the program. Ed, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. Joe, congratulations. Before I get to my quick point here, I must confess and raise my hand as a middle 50s person that the phrase "we keeping it a buck," I thought I was back in Latin class. I had absolutely no idea what that meant until my 15-year-old daughter bailed me out. I mean, I got so bad I thought he was replying to Buck Rising, who asked the question. That's how bad it was. So I feel like I'm educated at least. So by me confessing that over the open airways, I hope all people of my age can come out and just confess as well.
I agree.
So anyway, on Callahan and Ward, and I'm not trying to make a comment comparing Ward to Levis. That's not my point. My point is, when Levis first came up and had his first year without Callahan, he showed a lot of promise. He wasn't Johnny Unitas, but he did have some good moments, enough to be the starting quarterback going into the following year. We all can say, I'm sure we can say, that he regressed under Callahan. So I'm not seeing the progress Ward under Callahan. Can we make the argument that Callahan has an inability to mold his scheme to the player and forces the player to mold to his scheme? Because I think we had the same argument about Callahan and Levis last year. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that.
Wait, Ed, before you go, you do know what we asked means, right? Okay.
That part was clear. I was all over that. The other part was Latin to me.
That part I got.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Ed.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Good question. Good question. I think you can absolutely make that case.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, again, I don't want to get into the Will Levis discussion in terms of how far some people are taking it the last couple of weeks, because Will Levis, from a decision-making standpoint, had problems independent of scheme, right? Like, I mean, you can't, regardless of what scheme you're in, turn around and fire the ball over the back of your head. So I think we can all acknowledge that. But the bottom line is, to Ed's point, I mean, this guy was brought in to work with quarterbacks, and the body of work and the evidence we have so far is that Will Levis did get worse under him in his last year. Now, maybe that's just because he was exposed more and played more, and we eventually just figured out how bad he is. But now Cam Ward, I mean, the numbers aren't good through the first 4 weeks, and we can make, excuses for that. And there are certainly other reasons other than Cam Ward and Brian Callahan for that. So we would all acknowledge that. But the bottom line is, for a guy that you brought in to be specifically like your quarterback guru, there hadn't been any progress of any note with the quarterbacks that we've seen to this point working with Brian Callahan. That's the bottom line.
Right. Yeah. Like, again, so there are things that, to me, I have to raise my hand and say, like, I don't know what they're doing. I'm sure that they're not doing hey, try to do the hokey pokey with your footwork and turn yourself around and, throw it behind the back. Like, there's a lot of basic stuff that everybody does with quarterbacks, but the RPO question from TD is interesting, especially when it was a big part of his college experience. And I think the way Ed put it is perfect. That, you know, the good coaches are able to say, okay, we're going to do this, because he's good at this. Not, you got to get better at this, because that's what our offense is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's part of it. But no, look, I saw a lot of stuff last night. I think Mike Herndon and some others in the Titans universe were tweeting about, well, let's watch Mac Jones here. Mac Jones out, and I mean, we saw how bad he was, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, here he is looking unbelievable last night, ripping throws, quick decisions. Frankly, I think that's really interesting with him and Brock Purdy moving forward. But here we go again. And how can you not look at that and say that coaching is a gigantic part of it? It's also growth and being able to get to the other side as a young quarterback and all those things. But it seems to be this recurring theme in this league where we're giving up on guys, and maybe it's bad coaching, or maybe it's just that they needed the time. But either way, I can't look at last night and not come away saying that is great coaching in part, and then compare it to what we've seen in a season and a quarter. But it doesn't look anything like that. It doesn't look like quarterbacks getting better.
No, I mean, the situation is a big part of it, which we talk about all the time with these quarterbacks, right? Like, the bottom line is the situation for Mac Jones, like, he had a pretty normal setup his rookie year and looked pretty good with the Patriots. And then they decided that they wanted to name Matt Patricia the offensive coordinator, and it was a disaster after that in New England. And he played for the Jaguars last year, and I know he took down the Titans a couple of times. That wasn't some major feat a year ago, but he wasn't all that good in Jacksonville. And then you get to a situation in San Francisco working with a coach who we know can bring out the best out of quarterbacks, and look what he looks like right now. Like, it's a same thing with Kevin O'Connell, right? Like, first week, Carson Wentz walks in there and looks great. Kevin O'Connell got Josh Dobbs to play winning football for Minnesota up there. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
the guy's really good. And the guy's so it's not all coaching, but coaching is a big part of how the careers play out here. Let's head back to our phone line. Welcome in Dustin in Hopkinsville to the program. Dustin, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing good, man.
good.
Yeah, so piggybacking off what Ed said, I texted in too, but yeah, I can't judge anything really other than what I see on fundamentals of Cam Ward, because like he said, I've been saying this for a while. Under Vrabel, Will Levis looked really good. Yes, he had Derrick Henry. He had that same wee-ass line in front of him. But now Cam has what we can say a little bit better line, but he's still getting murdered on Sunday, every Sunday. But Callahan, on all aspects, has been a terrible coach, including the quarterback. And we've seen regression from players under him. All the players, all your rookies like Chig, Spears. I mean, we're getting injured everywhere. We still got this ass line, and we overpaid a guy to make it better. But Callahan has done nothing. Till we get rid of him, you're just going to ruin quarterback after quarterback. If you don't get rid of him soon enough, you're going to have a spike growing out of Cam Ward's shoulder, and he's going to be taking pictures of it saying, yeah, we ass again. They're going to be drafting another first-round pick. They got to get rid of Callahan. We can't judge this guy. I mean, we don't even know truly. Nobody can argue. Hey, we don't know what Will Levis really is because he had this coach that could not coach quarterbacks, and that's what he came here to do. Get him out of here.
Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate the call. Okay, I mean, on that front, now this is going to – I feel like, Joe, we're in danger of this becoming, as time goes on here, more and more the talking point. One thing Dustin said there was Will Levis was really good his first year. Will Levis's first year was okay. He had a great first game against the Atlanta Falcons. And I would agree with Ed that he showed enough in 2023 to make Titans fans hopeful and excited about what he could turn into.
Dolphins come back. He
had some good moments. But in 9 games, he was 58.4% of his passes, 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 picks. Fine. But I think sometimes we get carried away with how good his rookie season actually was.
Yes, sir. No doubt. But I mean, I think there are a lot of points there. Now, Brandon on the YouTube chat with a counterpoint. Now, Brandon, who at some point, Brandon, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Tennessee's offensive line coaching out there in Knoxville.
They look good.
But he says could be that Callahan, but also could be those two bums could just be uncoachable. I don't think Will Levis is uncoachable. I don't think Cam Ward is uncoachable. Now, I also think that they've basically been unprotected.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the bigger issue. But no, I don't think they're uncoachable. I mean, obviously the personnel problems, the roster problems have to be any discussion like this. You have to throw that in there too. But yes, I do think that that there are other coaches. You know, I went on with Willie and D-Mace yesterday, and we talked a lot about play calling, and I really think that play calling, and basically like just judge Callahan on play calling. And I said it's just hard for me to do, but I think play calling is kind of like we couldn't make a great movie, we couldn't cook a gourmet meal, but we know it when we see it or when we eat it. Like play calling to me is more of an art than a science. And it's not just play calling, but it's just like seeing space, seeing what you have in a player, and then having that feel for like putting together a game plan and the whole picture. And some guys just have, again, I think last night you saw it. I mean, Kendrick Bourne is the freaking number one receiver for that team. Half their team's out, and Kyle Shanahan's got Mac Jones looking like freaking Joe Montana, And there's an art to it. And so far, again, play calling is way down the list of my issues for this team, but I don't think we see that. And that is a part of also, of course, of developing a quarterback and getting the most out of a quarterback.
For sure. And look, the bottom line is, I mean, Brian Callahan, when you hired him, you hoped he was one of these quarterback gurus. And the fact is he's not. He's not. We're 21 games in at this point, and the body of work would suggest to you, independent of all the other factors that you want to throw in there, we've not seen anywhere near enough from that position to make you think that Brian Callahan is what you thought he was when you hired him, which is why he's ultimately going to be fired at some point here. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans and the Cardinals. A couple more things I want to get into on that front coming up next. We will also get into Vanderbilt and Alabama. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circa Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football game. Head up there to watch the Chiefs and the Jags, plus ask about Circa's giveaway of a trip to Las Vegas for the Titans-Raiders game coming up later this month as well. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. Joe, a couple other things on the Titans-Cardinals front. J.C. Latham has not yet practiced to this point this week. Today, a big day on that front. A hip injury, obviously, that he's dealing with. Need to get him back out there as soon as possible. Also, not practicing so far this week is Calvin Ridley. So, obviously, Joe, like if, Latham can't end up going and Ridley can't end up going, that's a big problem for the Tennessee Titans heading into any game and certainly on the road in the NFL. So, hopefully, some good news on both those guys today, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's not trending well for the Tennessee Titans to win a football game.
It's not.
I must say. We haven't talked much about, the game or like the matchups, the specifics of football, but even if the 30,000 foot view is what it is, it's like, I guess, looking at the moon from afar, but
good night, moon.
But then you dig down a little bit. It's like, yep, still not seeing a lot that's given too much optimism for I mean, in the NFL, again, last night, I mean, I would have picked like the Rams to blow them out.
Yep.
Based on the Niners injury, but those are competent football teams, both of them. The NFL's weird. The NFL's really weird, and there's still enough talent on all these teams that you have some plays early, get some momentum, and the other team is caught unaware, and you just never know. But it's hard for me to look at this game and expect anything but a runaway Arizona victory.
Do we think Ridley's actually hurt, or is this like a trade protection thing?
Well, it is interesting.
Yeah,
the injury
I've
listed
seen
is
some
knee
people
and
say
elbow. It's like my knees hurt, my elbows hurt. You want to throw in a finger there too? Like
his usage was really down last week.
It really was, yeah.
They're using putting Lockett in there more.
Yeah.
Not sure what I don't. Maybe it was an injury thing. It said undisclosed or something at one point I read, and until the injury report came out.
I mean, I would tend to want to believe, but I think I would tend to believe that it's more that there is some injury stuff, and that's part of why, like last week, the usage was low, as opposed to this is hold him out for a trade. Because first of all, I mean, we'll see. Is that coming anytime soon? I would think it'd be close to the deadline. Also, if you're the Titans and you want to move him, and you're another team and you're thinking about getting him, I'd say some like good weeks of him playing and producing would be pretty important on both sides, right? Like
get his value up, yeah.
Like if I'm another team and I'm like, what is happening with this guy? I'm getting cold feet, and I think if you're the Titans, it's like we need him out there looking like a guy at some point. Like, he is not falling off the table. No, there's value here. Please, no, we're not just gonna take a fifth for him. But I've look, it's a fair thing to bring up because that stuff does happen sometimes.
Well, Tajay Spears, a limited participant this week in practice at this point. Obviously, they've opened up his practice window, so we'll see if he's able to go this week against Arizona. If he is able to go, how much does he get the football? How much is he involved in the game? But good to see him at least back out there dealing with a high ankle sprain. So anything that can be done to add some sort of weaponry to the offense, I think we're all in favor of. Joe, Vanderbilt, Alabama coming up tomorrow. We've talked a lot about that game this week. We know the circumstances and just the magnitude of the game heading into it. You threw out an interesting question, though. If you're a Tennessee fan, who are you rooting for this weekend? Vandy? Alabama? I mean, mine's pretty easy. Like, if it's – I basically root for anyone that gets to Alabama. I don't really care who it is. So, I mean, mine is pretty cut and dry. I would assume most Tennessee fans probably feel the same way, but maybe not. I mean, there's some Tennessee and Vanderbilt fans, Joe, that really do a great job of sniping back and forth at each other on social media to the point where maybe they've driven some Tennessee fans to the point where they are pulling for Alabama this weekend.
yeah, like I would kind of think that there'd be a pretty strong percentage of the Tennessee fan base that would be like, you know what? I don't want to hear their crap anymore, man. I don't want to hear their crap anymore. And if they win this game, oh my gosh, the entire country is going to be talking about freaking Vanderbilt. We are going to be the less talked about team in college football in our own state. And I feel like there's something to that. Now, I think you, in your role, and we're partners with Vanderbilt. We talked to Clark Lee. He's great. And we're in Nashville. I think that maybe it's like this almost goes to the earlier discussion about being a sports fan, where you're detached a little bit, and so you know what I mean. So it's like it's great for Nashville, it's great for college football. If Vanderbilt wins,
It's way more exciting.
Yeah, but I do think that there have to be. You don't seem to have been as affected by this, but in those years when Vanderbilt was beating Tennessee, I know Tennessee had all these other issues, and it was the bigger picture was like, who the hell can coach this team? Who the hell's the AD and the president and all this stuff? But you had to be also. There must have been some trash talk from Vanderbilt fans.
I had a couple Vanderbilt friends that went just way over the top with it, and I was like, "Yeah, congratulations on your first win in 25 years or whatever it was." But yeah, to your point, I think I was more concerned at the time of trying to actively fist fight Derek Dooley or Butch Jones. That's kind of where my thought process was during that time.
But I think with some fans, there probably is a little bit more lingering bitterness and I just, basically just I don't want these people to have any reason to hype up.
Yes.
Now, if you're arguing with a Vanderbilt fan, obviously you have all kinds of fodder on your side that you can throw at them. But the bottom line is nothing matters more than what's happening in the moment. And look, I think Indiana might be the third best team in college football this year. Seriously, I was going through it the other day. I'm like, I think Oregon's the best and Ohio State's probably second best. And I think Indiana might be as good as anybody else in the nation. Now, I could be wrong. And that may be disproved at some point. But the point is, in this era of college football, for all the complaints we've had and people are mad about this or that, the unpredictability and the possibility of programs like that actually becoming good is real.
Yeah.
Like it's never been before.
No, I think that's undeniable. And, say what you will about the transfer portal. And I think there are some guardrails that need to be put in place. And, they're going to the one-time portal and all those things. But, the one thing it gives you the opportunity to do is, you can change your team pretty quickly if you want to. If you're committed to it and you're committed to paying some money, you can change your team pretty quickly when it comes to the modern landscape of college football. Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Luke to the program. Luke, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, thanks, guys. I was just thinking, if Vandy goes down to Tuscaloosa this weekend and wins, and they're the favor in the SEC possibly, or at least going to be looking at college football playoffs, is there any time in history that Tennessee has ever played the spoiler to Vandy's postseason goals?
I think you'd have to go back to World War I. In all seriousness,
there was no postseason then.
Yeah, in this current setup or anything resembling this, the answer is unequivocally no. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is a chance?
Yeah. If Vanderbilt goes out and wins this weekend and gets to 6-0, Joe, and thank you for calling, Luke. Joe, to your point, I think you look at the rest of the schedule and you're like, okay, they're not going to be favored in all these games, but there's not a game on there they can't win, right? There's no game that they just can't win. And you probably feel that way anyway, regardless of the result this weekend, unless they go out there against Alabama and just get absolutely destroyed. Then I think you probably reevaluate that. But there's nobody on their schedule that is just terrifying if you're a Vanderbilt fan right now.
No. I think one of the sneaky, interesting games of this week is Texas at Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Billy Napier, it seems like it's probably inevitable now, and the rumblings out of there, it's they're gonna try it again, and the new coach. But the thing about Florida is their defense has showed up every week. They show up every week. They went into Miami. I couldn't believe it. They had Miami they grind them to a halt in that game for most of the game. So I'm really interested to see Texas, and what they look like in that scenario, and I have real questions about Arch Manning and that offense. That still wouldn't be like, other than this one and the Texas, just because they're on the road, would be the two games before Tennessee that are most likely for Vanderbilt to lose. But yeah, man, LSU coming in here, the way they're playing right now, and you know, it's you lose that game to Ole Miss, and it's like all the Brian Kelly stuff starts up again. Here we go. That game looks way different to me than it did going the season. And like Nussmeier has some abdomen thing. I mean, no, the schedule, the setup, the possibility, it looks a lot different, a lot better for Vanderbilt than it did going into the season.
We got the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. This Sunday, the NFL game of the week, the Cowboys and the Jets at noon on Sports Talk 8:30. NFL game of the week presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Yeah, Mike Borgonzi, he wakes up at 4 a.m. Oh, my God.
He's cool. Joints. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
How many times have you fallen asleep on the plane?
I'm a world-class plane sleeper.
We ass, we in. We love, we ass.
Turn the radio off. You're a moron.
I couldn't give less of a crap. Say another word about the Detroit Tigers. You're dead.
The Rex Rant brought to you by Functional Medicine of Tennessee. Rise up to better health. Check them out at functionalmedicineoftennessee.net. Joe Rexrode, I turn things over to you, my friend.
Thank you. I feel like I'm kind of going smorgasbord a little more on the, but that's okay. I mean, sometimes you just have, you just have multiple things to talk about. Like I was going to talk about, enterprise rental hanging up on me. Like 4 times in a row, trying to get to the local. It's like, phone trees are very frustrating and stuff like that. But actually just constantly getting into the phone tree and then after about 2.5 minutes, just getting hung up on. 4 times in a row. 4 times in a row. Enterprise rental car. That's a problem. But there are other things to talk about. First of all, I'd like to thank those on the text line who called me the songbird of our generation. I appreciate that. I did want to go back to, because we're gonna get into the fan thing a little bit here on this rant or whatever you want to call it. Liam McLeod earlier in the 6 o'clock hour, as we're talking about teams that make you go crazy or teams that make you irrational. He says, as we age and life's joys and disappointments mount, it gets harder and harder to invest our hearts into delusion. When those magical games or seasons come along and we dare to hope, it's like a fountain of youth. Improbably, Vandy is daring me to believe. There you go. There you
Beautifully
go.
written.
I thought that was poetic. So also, I enjoy that I'm seeing some Vols fans. This here we go. Fart Vandy. They'll be brought down to reality after Saturday. I want Alabama ranked as high as possible when UT plays.
Well, there is that.
And there's just so the third Saturday in October. How could it be possible that the first Saturday in October with Vanderbilt playing Bama could be bigger, could be a game? You know what I mean? That's
right.
That's part of this. And that's what I'm trying to elicit because, again, when you're in state and it's different because there's not Vanderbilt is, is a small population of students compared to Tennessee. I think it's like 13,000 to like 40 whatever thousand, right?
Yeah.
There's way more Tennessee fans in the state. So it's not exactly like some of the other in-state things, but still, you're still around these people in Nashville, Tennessee fans galore, but also there's Vanderbilt fans, long time, hardcore, long suffering. And then you have the students that are activated. And that dynamic is so great. I mean, obviously we hope that we can get to a game that has huge stakes at the very end. But I also want to use this moment, Robby, to call myself out again. I mentioned it earlier on the show. I mean, I am such a joke of a fan. I am such a joke of a fan. I'm sitting there screaming. I've been hanging with the Tigers all year. Now, I mentioned my grandma Pratt, rest in peace, and how over 10 years between playoff appearances, she watched every freaking Tigers game. Do you know how many I watched in those 10 years?
6.
It was not something like that. I'm such a fair weather fan. If they're good, do I follow it? Do I follow the acquisitions? Do I, yes, but that's the fan. That's what a fan is. A fan is not me proclaiming anybody who will listen that they're going to blow it. Now, did they have a historic collapse this year? Yes, they did. Okay. Yes, they did. And it was terrible. It was painful. And I'm still pissed at the GM because right now we should be in better position to make a run. And he didn't do enough. And we still don't have, to me, enough arms. Another arm or two and maybe a bat or two would be necessary. But I was so convinced they were going to lose. Absolutely. Screaming about it, complaining, bitch about every move that AJ Hinch made. complaining, texting my brother. And then as soon as they win, I start talking trash to Cleveland fans. So we have a family text thread, which is we have one where it's like, this is like Katie's side of the family, but it's like all the adults and all the kids. My brother-in-law, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, lives and dies that team. Nicest guy in the world. Okay. And so what do? I put on our little family thread. Yeah. And so I'm not sure if my nieces are, they live in Florida. So are they Guardians fans? I don't know. But regardless, the whole family's out here. What do? I post a little Tigers logo rawr, after they win. And what does Uncle Jeff say? Congrats. Great series, and a little crying emoji. Now that's a classy person.
It is.
Responding to a jackass who, hijacks the family text thread to talk trash to Cleveland fans. So I don't deserve anything good to happen, but I will continue to say we from now on.
Richard on YouTube says, this rant has the clarity of the morning after a night of too much malt liquor. This is from Richard on the YouTube chat.
What kind of malt liquor?
Well,
is what I would ask.
I don't know.
It's a bouillabaisse, Richard. It's a bouillabaisse. And by the way, I preferred Crazy Horse, but then they stopped making it because I think it had like opium in it or something.
Well, now we've got our sights set on the Seattle Mariners, right? As our Robby and Rexrode's adopted team. It's not your adopted team, but as a show, it's our adopted team, the Detroit Tigers. Next in line, the Seattle Mariners. Better watch your back, Seattle. The big dumper.
Yep. Good night, big dumper. That's what I have to say. But seriously, now that I'm on the bandwagon and pretending like I've been there all along and like I deserve any kind of good things that happen with the Detroit Tigers, I gotta say, 5-game series, Scooble can go in game 2, and if there is a game 5, he can go in game 5. So yeah, it doesn't mean we're gonna win, but I'm actually kind of feeling optimistic. Is that bad?
That may not bode well based on what just happened in the postseason. We'll see. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Teron Davenport will join us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans and the Cardinals coming up on Sunday. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
ESPN's Turon Davenport talking Titans now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Titans taking on the Arizona Cardinals this week in search for win number 1 on the season. And to help us talk more about that, we head to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Turon Davenport, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. TD, Titans, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter. TD, good morning, man. How we doing?
Hey, good morning. How you guys?
Doing awesome, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us. So, TD, you put together a piece at ESPN.com talking about the Titans, the 0-4 start. And one of the things that really stood out to me in here was, Kevin Zeitler talking about, how he's been on some rougher teams and the good things happen to those who keep going. So I'm asking you, TD, when you watch this team, and I realize they're coming off a 26-0 loss, how close do you feel like they are to maybe capturing that ever elusive win that they seem to look at the film and say maybe is closer than it would otherwise appear?
Man, they're probably as close as I am to seeing my Mets in the postseason, huh? Rexrode, don't you say anything. Don't you
I'm not saying anything.
All right. No, all jokes aside, I think this last game, and I said it yesterday on one of my hits for our ESPN vertical, it's really interesting how this team actually is kind of close, and that's the crazy part. Because if you look at the Texans game, that in a microcosm is this Titans season. It's 6-0. There's 4 minutes and 6 seconds left in the third quarter. Jeffrey Simmons had made a play, and then you got the 2 penalties. It's 2nd and 33, deep in Texans territory, and all you need to do is keep everything in front of you. Play your assignment. It didn't happen by 2 parties in the secondary, and next thing you know, it's a first down. 7 plays later, they score a touchdown. It's 7-0, and 13-0, and that was the first of 3 touchdowns in the daggone quarter. And next thing you know, it's 26-0. That game doesn't necessarily, the box score doesn't tell you how close that game was, and that's the thing that's so maddening watching this team. Jeffrey Simmons on Wednesday, he told us something. He said, they had maybe 2 or 3 missed tackles. Now, I believe, I would like to think he was exaggerating because he said 3 in the first half, but I like to think he was exaggerating about the second half one where he said they told him they had like 30 missed tackles. That's just the topsy-turvy part of this team, and I think that's where it gets a little maddening as a fan. I think that's where they get so upset because like their heart is in it, and they're like, "Hey, we got a chance, And the fourth quarter comes. Outside of the Colts game, the fourth quarter comes, and next thing you know, it's here we go again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And this may be just me, guys. Just being beaten down by like just the expectations of this team to lose. But I still, even when it was 6-0, I didn't think it was going to be a game that came down to the end. Now, again, it's easy to say that now. And like you said, TD, I mean, you're right. They're right there. You get off the field. I never saw much from their offense Sunday that led me to believe they were, they obviously missed those field goals, but like it did look like it was getting worse. And then also in the fourth quarter, like it looked like it was almost a collapse. I mean, that's a crazy number, the missed tackles, but all of a sudden it was just like, okay, like they got nothing left. And I guess my question then is like, how many times of being close? Because you're right, 3 of these 4 games, you change a few things and you are right there with a chance to win at the very end. But how many of those failures, along with all the other stuff that's going on around this team with Callahan and now we got Cam or whatever, how much can a team absorb and still keep playing that kind of competitive football?
That's a great point. And you know what it makes me wonder is, okay, that breaking point, that breaking moment that typically happens in the fourth quarter, how much longer or how much more is it going to take for that to happen in the second quarter or the first quarter? You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's where I wonder how quickly this team will break if things go wrong early.
So, TD, you asked Ward earlier this week about the RPO game and just his comfort level, and he gave a pretty good and detailed answer about how long he's been doing that and how comfortable he is with it. When you watch the Titans, how much more room for the RPO game is there? How much more should there be in your mind as they move forward with Ward based on where their offense is right now?
Yeah, I think there is room to do it. I know Brian Callahan as well as Cam Ward, they both discussed how some defenses play different and you can't do it against them. And that's true. But to me, I think it's all about, and especially like that type of play where it's like, okay, you're putting the defense in a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation. So to me, it's like, yo, I'm going to dictate what I want to do to you. And that's what I was a bit disappointed with when Brian Callahan got into his reasoning, about opportunities to do it and not doing it as much more. It's what this kid did best. So do it. And then I do like that Callahan had mentioned, the read option portion of it too. And that's something that I would introduce at this point. Like your offense, you scored 2 touchdowns in 4 games. Like you got to try everything. And, if you're willing to continue to try these long, slow developing screens, you should be willing to try things that your quarterback was really good at multiple schools in college.
Yeah. Well, along those same lines, Stevie, we were talking earlier about like last night's game. I think obviously you're a Titans fan. You look around the league, you can find a lot of things around the NFL and say, well, one, it's like, hey, that guy wasn't good here, and look how great he's doing there. Or, gee, a team that scores points.
Scheme matters.
Yeah. And you're watching the Niners last night. They're down to Kendrick Bourne as wide receiver 1. Mac Jones he's scrap heaped twice, and he looks amazing. And so I totally get Titans fans looking at that as an example and saying, why does it look so easy some places? Look at quarterback development some places, scheme and play calling, helping a quarterback be the best version of himself. All of which gets me the question of, based on the information we have now, like how would you assess Callahan and the staff just in terms of getting the best out of a quarterback, developing a quarterback?
Not good enough. Not good enough at all. Did you see the numbers in that story?
Oh yeah.
We're talking about like historical level poor play, from a Titans quarterback, and just to mention one of the numbers, I mean, you look at the 51% completion, right? He's 1 of 4 to have that low, you know what I mean, for the Titans. Vince Young, had the worst, but then you look at the QBR. I mean, Deshaun Kaiser with the Browns in 2017 is the only quarterback to have a lower QBR through his first 4 starts. So there's a lot to be concerned about there. I refuse to believe that Cam Ward is that quality of a player. I believe wholeheartedly that he has the talent and the wherewithal, the mindset to be a top-level quarterback in this league. So, yeah, there's some disconnect somewhere. Obviously, Rome wasn't built in a year or however the saying goes, but at the same time, you got to see some more flashes, some more spurts. And I think that a part of it is the position that he's in as far as not being, having opportunities as many to do what he could do.
Well, and TD, to that point, I mean, the numbers you bring up, everything involved with it. I mean, and it's not even factoring in the 10 losses in a row dating back to last year, the overall record. We know how bad it's been. But like my focus on the coaching part of this has shifted. Like, I think we all realize that Callahan's probably going to be fired at some point here. But I'm starting to ask the question of, like, I realize NFL teams for the most part don't fire people in September and early October. But like the numbers that you're throwing out there have to make me wonder, like, is it doing more harm to Cam Ward than good, keeping the status quo in place when everybody's concern should be about developing him and what's best for him? I'm not seeing much development right now.
No, that's a fact. You aren't seeing much development. You're correct. There's so many factors and things involved in here because think about it, right? If they were to fire Brian Callahan, right? If they do it early, now that's going to be 4 years in a row, right? That a major part of the organization has been let go. If you're Mike McCarthy, right, you're looking at that like, you know what I mean? If you're Cliff Kingsbury, it's like the Drake meme where he got the hand up and he's turning his face away. That's Cliff Kingsbury to this job, right? If you're Matt Nagy, you're like, well, I know Berganzi, but man, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, who's going to want to come here? So I say all that to say, okay, yeah, let's say you do go ahead and you get rid of Callahan now. It shows an extreme knee-jerk type of reaction, right? But let's say you get rid of him at the end of the year, it still shows, okay, like you couldn't take it no more. You made a move, but at least you gave him a couple years to do it. You know what I mean? And it gives a different perspective to whoever would be a coach coming in. So I say that again to say, if you make a move, whoever you bring in, you're looking at a very, very possible short stint for them too, because like, what type of quality coach is going to come here after seeing a GM and head coach fired in back-to-back years? Like, nobody's going to want that.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting point. It's a good point. It does. So your guys, Graziano, who the combo artist, Graziano,
Fowler.
Who?
Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano.
Yeah, Graziano Fowler. They wrote, interesting piece this week, but one of the points was that this will be a very attractive job. Cam Ward being mentioned, which I agree, but I think I'm reading that, I'm like, you guys have got to mention ownership here, right? Because
absolutely,
that's gotta be. It's the 32 job thing, right? Like, it's like people are it's in this league, you get a chance to be a head coach, you get a chance to be a GM. But if you're a good candidate, you also aren't just going to have one team after you. So
exactly.
So I think that's a great point. And then you wondered, so if it's like, okay, he got his 2 years. Do you think that a McCarthy or whoever, I saw an interesting, Mike Herndon threw out Robert Saleh, head coach, Mike McDaniel, OC. I was like, I don't hate that one, but whoever it may be.
They have ties together with San Francisco.
Sure do.
Yeah, but whoever it is, does that make a difference? Does that change it? Does that at least make someone feel, okay, at least they gave the dude the whole second year? Does it help?
I think it would make it a bit lesser of a concern. You know what I mean? But no matter what, any coach coming in here is going to be like, oof, you know what I'm saying? Because of the way the things have gone over the last 4 years. Like, this organization is dysfunctional right now. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And then even you look at the Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniel one, that would be cool, but you better hope that Mike McDaniel brings somebody else that is groomed to take his place when he leaves, because he's eventually going to leave if the offense. So it's like you'd be a victim of your own success, right? He comes in, Cam Ward.
That sounds okay, though.
It sounds okay, but then it's like, okay, you want 2 years, a good taste in your mouth, and then right back to this mess that you're digesting now, or do you want something sustained long term?
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, TD, great conversation as always. For the sake of you, for the sake of me, for the sake of all of us watching, I hope to God it's an entertaining football game this weekend in Arizona. Thanks so much for being with us, and we will talk to you next week, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys. I would say go Mets, but
hey, Tigers bandwagon's got room, baby.
Join us.
It's not happening. Even though, thank you for Howard Johnson back in the day.
I loved Hojo. I was very mad we let Hojo go, by the way.
You were mad. I was happy.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
He corked his bat like a champion.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, TD. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, fellas. Yep.
Yeah, Teron Davenport, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. We'll react to what TD had to say coming up next. Take your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Tomorrow's college football game of the week, Clemson taking on North Carolina at 11 a.m. on Sports Talk 830, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circa Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. We'll have Pigskin Pick'em coming up here in about 10 minutes. Taking your thoughts on the Titans at 615-737-1025. Appreciate TD for being with us in the last segment there. It's almost Groundhog Day talking about the Titans right now, just in terms of, can they find a way to get a win this week? And then they go out there and they just get blown out like they do every week. The point that you bring up and that TD brings up is an interesting one of it's October and we're already talking about how much fight does the team have left? Like, do they just break early? Like, if something goes wrong immediately on the game on Sunday, how long do they have the pushback? Because, Joe, I think at some point with NFL coaches, certainly with college football coaches, you can see this. Like, your team kind of tells you when it's time to go at some point. Like, I realize Notre Dame is a lot better than Arkansas is, but, I mean, you could tell pretty early that Arkansas had no fight, just absolutely no pushback in that game. And when you see it, it's not a surprise that the next day Sam Pittman gets shown the door there in Arkansas. I haven't seen anything quite like that quite yet with the Titans. I think the game Sunday against Houston was probably more of a case. I mean, the time of possession difference, I believe, was 38-21. Like, it was 22 is a big difference in time of possession on Sunday. And I think the Titans defense just got worn down. But I do wonder, like, the deeper this goes and the longer they can't come up with answers, do they just start to break earlier and earlier in games?
Yeah, it's a fair question. And I think that fourth quarter, and I'm not saying this statistically, I haven't compared, but I think that fourth quarter was the low point of the season for them.
I would agree.
Like, you give up, like TD said, Simmons, he's giving them hell, and it's only 6-0, and you've missed 2 field goals, and it's 2nd and 33. And yeah, L'Jarius Sneed, it's just an absurd mistake.
Ooh.
Not just him. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the fourth quarter, they looked like a dead fish flopping outside of water. And then you wonder, okay, so I tell you, we haven't said we asked much today on this show. We don't have much time left to make up our quota here on we asked. But seriously, I do feel like this game could be a little bit of and it may not have anything to do with anything, but like, if they play better, was it a little bit of, hey, maybe the QB lit a fire? And if it's like just an absolute blowout, is it like, oh, that didn't help? Maybe that made it worse. I would argue against anybody who thinks it would make it worse. I think it's ridiculous, and I continue to argue with what Charles said yesterday. But I bet you there'll be some conclusions drawn one way or the other.
Probably so. I mean, my general reaction is just, in general, they suck. So if they get blown out, it's like, oh yeah. I mean, that's what they do. Like, I need to go back and double check this, because people were talking about this the other day, but I need to go back and see if there's a formula that I could find the actual number from, like, a reputable place. But, Brian Callahan, 3-18 as Titans head coach. I believe he's also 3-18 against the spread. That was the number that was thrown out there last week, which is, like, just unbelievably hard.
That's about right.
Like,
last
it's hard
year
to do.
was historically bad.
Yeah.
And I guess week 1, I think they might have covered the 8.5 versus Denver.
Yes.
So I think they only had 1 or 2 last year. So it's about right.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. Tough to do.
Yeah. No, it's atrociously bad. And so, I thought great conversation with TD, and we got some reaction. For example, Kevin on the text line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai, got WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, fellas, come on. I'm sure there'll be some of that. And he's talking about the coaches, like TD mentioned, being hesitant about ownership. He said, but if you don't think that a good NFL head coach can't see that Brian Callahan is a something clown show, you're crazy. I think that man, a real man not sniffing weasel like BC would look at her keeping on I can't understand, Kevin, but I hear what your point is. Here's the thing. But again, fine. Yes, they'll get a coach who is somewhat, a good candidate, like everybody does. But if there's 3 jobs that want a person, they might rank 3rd for that guy because of ownership. And that's where I didn't really like the Graziano piece because, again, it's like you have to mention that factor. So yeah, like someone says, do you look stupid though for keeping Callahan? Yeah, but again, the point is that, like TD said, 4 years in a row of a big change, and if you do it really early, that definitely would feed like the conversation about. Yes, obviously Callahan, historically bad tenure and all that, but it would go. There'd be more talk about Amy Adams Strunk and the quick trigger finger in this time of year than there will be in November, December, / maybe even after the season.
I agree with that. Now, I would also say the ultimate factor in all of that too would be like in terms of the attractiveness of the job. Like if Cam Ward just continues to put up bad numbers this year and is as bad as the numbers have suggested that he's been the first 4 weeks, that does way more of a detriment to the attractiveness of the job than anything else, than the ownership, than all those things. So like my counter argument would be like, if you get Callahan out of there and all of a sudden the quarterback play improves, then that probably helps the attractiveness of the job if people think the quarterback actually has a chance to maybe turn into something as time goes on.
Yeah, if it does improve. But
and there's no guarantee that it would. But I'm just saying, like if all the numbers suggest that there ain't much quarterback development going on around here with Brian Callahan as head coach.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Texter says Cam was the best QB in a week QB draft class. Cam is a me first instead of team first guy. I don't think there's any basis to say that last part. I disagree, based on what we've seen and heard. Also, Texter says Joe sounds like Porky Pig with all the stuttering. A bit. We asked, folks.
You got a big stuttering problem this morning.
I mean, I certainly have a lot of, I mean, that's part of the show. Isn't that part of the charm of the show?
Ian and I were, I think, timing one of your questions to TD at one point. It's like, wow, I think Joe's been talking for a minute and a half on this question.
So TD, let me just filibuster for about 5 minutes.
We got Pigskin Pick'em coming up next. Big weekend. Titans football back at it. Vanderbilt, Alabama. We'll get to all that and more. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is time for Pigskin Pick'em here on the program. A standings update in the competition as we head into another week here on the program. Not a very good week for us last week. I was horrific. I went 1-5 without a lock last week, so that was good stuff. Ian Safar, 2-4, no lock. Joe Rexrode, 3-3, did get his lock in the competition, which brings the overall standings. Ian Safar, 18-12, 3-2 in his locks, 21 points. Joe Rexrode, 14-16, 5-0 on his locks.
Let's go.
5-0 on his locks, 19 points. I'm also 14-16, 0-5 on my locks, 14 points. A run of absurdity only the Titans can match. With that in mind, we begin with Vanderbilt and Alabama. Alabama, a 10.5-point favorite in this matchup. Ian Safar, you're in first, so you will go first. Who we have between Vanderbilt and Alabama?
I'm taking Vandy to cover the 10.5. I really want to pick them to win. I hope they play well. I love this Vandy team. You know, Pavia, the whole smack talking thing's not really up my alley as far as like, you know, talking trash all the time, but just the way they play and how fun they are on offense. I love that. I'm starting to really, and Clark Lee just seems super classy to me. I'm really becoming a Vanderbilt fan. So give me Vandy 10.5 to cover.
On Vandy plus the 10.5 on the road at Alabama. Joe Rexrode, Vanderbilt and Alabama tomorrow, 2:30.
Well said, Ian. And, I do wonder, like, how many people who aren't affiliated are becoming Vandy fans for the same reasons. And some people like that trash talk. I agree. It might be a little much at times. Look, I think Bama's going to win this game 34-24. I think Bama's going to win. I think it'll be a good game, but that Bama will kind of get some separation and stay ahead with that offense. But that does also mean that I'm picking Vandy with the 10.5.
I will take Alabama. I think a late touchdown by Alabama extends it to 14, and I think Alabama wins by a couple of scores in a game that will be closer than the final score will appear, but a late touchdown from Alabama sends it to 14, and Alabama covers the 10.5-point spread. We move to the Titans and the Cardinals coming up. Titans on the road. Cardinals an 8.5-point favorite. Joe Rexrode, who we got?
Yeah, the only question here is this my lock or not? Because I want to keep that lock, and I probably should be. I'll hold off on locking, but it's an easy pick. Arizona's going to beat the crap out of the Titans. I'm sorry.
I'm going the Cardinals minus the 8.5 against the Tennessee Titans. I, too, will take the Cardinals minus the 8.5 against the Tennessee Titans. Ian Safar, who do you have?
I am also going to take the Cardinals. I don't know. I mean, this is good as any, so just as good a chance as anybody to cover. So I'm going to actually lock the Cardinals 8.5. I don't feel great about it for some reason because I don't think Arizona's super great, but neither was Houston. So
That's true.
I will take the Cardinals 8.5, and I'll make that my lock.
I am confident, though, the Titans will score more than they scored last week in this game. I'm pretty certain about that. Not totally certain, but pretty certain about that. We move to the individual portion of the program. 4 individual selections this week. I will begin. Give me Texas minus 4.5 against Florida and make it my lock. I'm locking down on the Longhorns. Florida's beaten down. They're defeated. Arch Manning, I think, will look like he knows how to throw a forward pass this week, and Texas will go on the road and cover the 4.5-point spread against Florida. Locking down on the Longhorns. Ian Safar, your first individual selection.
Okay, I will stick with college. Give me Maryland plus 6.5 hosting Washington. Far trip for Washington coming off the game versus Ohio State. Home dog, 6.5 points. I'll take Maryland.
Maryland plus 6.5, the cross-country trip for Washington in the Big Ten Conference, which is a very historical matchup. Maryland and Washington. Joe Rexrode, your first individual selection.
Yes. Yeah, just have them meet in Kansas, Yeah, you know what? That was a very close. I almost picked that one, too, and I would have made the same pick. Malik Washington from Maryland. People haven't seen him. He's fun. Now, Damon Williams for Washington, also a very fun player. But I like that pick. I'm going Air Force at Navy, minus 12.5. Listen, I grew up, speaking of rivalries and fandom, I grew up rooting against Navy with an Army dad. But Navy is badass. Blake Horvath and the boys, I think they're getting a little bit disrespected here with this line. They're going to put a number on Air Force. Give me Navy. Make it my lock.
Locking down on Navy.
Guarantee.
Minus the 12.5 against Air Force. Ian Safar, your second individual selection.
Sticking with college for my second one as well. Give me Notre Dame. Minus 20.5 versus Boise State. Notre Dame, the Arkansas game might be a little bit of a fluke. Talked about it. I can't remember. You mentioned it earlier, how Arkansas kind of looked checked out. They fired the coach. So this might be a little tricky, but give me Notre Dame minus 20.5 versus Boise State.
Notre Dame really has no choice but to be overly impressive the rest of the way if they want to make the college football playoffs. So Notre Dame minus 20.5 against Boise State. Joe Rexrode, your second individual selection.
All right, taking it to the Big Ten. Illinois at Purdue. Purdue getting 9.5 at home. I just got to think Illinois. I'm a little shaky on Illinois. A huge win over USC. Could have gone either way, but I think they're going to beat down the Boilers a little bit with that run game. Give me Illinois giving the 9.5 on the road.
So Illinois minus 9.5 on the road against Purdue. Give me App State minus 1.5 against Oregon State. Oregon State, cheeks. Give me App State minus the 1.5. Joey Aguilar's aura still living on at App State. Minus the 1.5 against Oregon State. Joe Rexrode, your third individual selection.
I looked at that one too. I like it. Okay, Clemson at North Carolina. North Carolina at home. Bill Belichick. Remember, this is going to be some huge game this year. Oh, Dabo and Belichick. Oh, my. Well, UNC's getting 14.5 at home. Some people would be afraid of that half. I'm not at all. Dabo, as bad as it's been, they're going to go in there and put a freaking beating on Belichick's awful football team. Give me Clemson minus 14.5 on the road.
Clemson minus 14.5 on the road against the Tar Heels of North Carolina. Give me the Indianapolis Colts minus 6.5 against the Raiders. Colts looking good. I actually was probably more encouraged by the Colts in their loss to the Rams than I was by any win that they've had this year, because I think the Rams are pretty good and the Colts totally screwed it up. So give me the Colts minus the 6.5 against the Raiders. Ian Safar, your third individual selection.
Okay, moving to the NFL for my next two. I'm going back to the on the Dublin game, or I guess it's the England game, the over there.
Yep.
Browns plus 3.5. Dylan Gabriel getting the start. Carson Wentz also getting the start for Minnesota. Dealing with some injuries. I don't know. Browns plus 3.5. I'm taking it.
I like it. Browns plus the 3.5 overseas against the Minnesota Vikings. Joe, round us out with your final individual selection.
Well, I'd like to go right against that. Thank you very much. I am taking the Vikings minus the 3.5. The Vikings have been living over there in Europe.
It's true.
Cleveland's going over there. I don't think Dylan Gabriel's very good. Their other quarterback is wants to be Charlie Chaplin. I think I'm going with that team that's been over there. I'm going to grab the Wentz wagon, baby.
Going with Minnesota minus 3.5. Ian Safar, your final individual selection.
Okay, I'm going to go for a Chargers bounce back. Disappointing game versus the Giants on the East Coast. Now they're going back home to host Washington. Jane Daniels is supposed to return and play, but Chargers only 2.5. So I get the field goal. Give me Chargers minus 2.5 versus Washington Commanders.
Going Chargers minus 2.5, and now down both tackles against the Washington Commanders. But Herbert has been, for the most part, pretty strong so far this year. Give me Michigan minus 16.5 against Wisconsin. Wisconsin is horrible, and Wisconsin is in for some long conversations on the Luke Fickell front, who has a significant buyout. But my goodness, it's not going well for the Badgers. Give me the Wolverines minus 16.5 against Wisconsin. Not very good, those Wisconsin Badgers, Joe Rexrode.
No, I like that pick. I do. I think, yeah, and you're right. It has been way worse than I ever would have guessed when they got Luke Fickell in there, but it just isn't a fit.
It's Vrabel's boy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he did really good things at Cincinnati, but it just goes to show you, I mean, sometimes a coach and a place don't fit. And I just think going in there and say, you know what, we're going to run a version of the air raid here at Wisconsin. There is something to it's just like when you go to Iowa, whoever replaces Ferentz, you know what? Play D and run the ball. I know it's boring, but man, it can work. And it worked for a long time for the Badgers.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll take your thoughts, your picks for this weekend. Our final thoughts on Vanderbilt and Alabama and the Titans and the Cardinals coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Vanderbilt taking on Alabama tomorrow. Pregame at 1 o'clock on 94.9 The Fan. Kickoff at 2:30. Vanderbilt football brought to you by Gary Force Acura, Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse, and Smoky Mountain Tops. So, Joe, speaking of that game, if Vanderbilt's going to hang in there and if Vanderbilt's going to win, what do they have to do against Alabama tomorrow besides scoring more points than the other team?
Well,
That's
that's Mike
step one.
McDaniel. That is an important part of it. Yeah, I think you gotta. And I don't want to like disrespect Vanderbilt's defense. I think it's more watching Alabama's offense come together, and they left some stuff on the field against Georgia, but I think Ty Simpson is really a good quarterback. Ryan Williams hasn't played his best. It's been a little bit disappointing. At some point, he's going to have a breakout game. I said that earlier this week. Like, man, you could see it, this week maybe. But I think Vanderbilt has to win the turnover battle. I know these are some of these like cliche football things, but like the turnover battle, the special teams, I think in a game like this, they are at a disadvantage. Alabama has more talent across the board. Alabama wants revenge for last year. Alabama has confidence now and has kind of put the whole Kalen DeBoer screaming in the rear view. I think those are a lot of intangible things that are against Vanderbilt. Last week they had the punt block, ridiculous call that took that off the board. They need something like that. They need a big return. They need to be plus overall when you compare the kicking games. And I think they need to be plus on the turnover side. Even if it's just like you don't turn it over at all and you get one from them. Can you get them to punt a few times? I mean, I just think it's going to be tough sledding for Vanderbilt's defense. But also Vanderbilt's offense has to know that it has to have its very best day. And I think Vanderbilt's offense, I'll take them right now in any game. You put Vanderbilt's offense against the way Ohio State is playing defense, I still think Vanderbilt's offense would score some points against Ohio State's defense, which looks like possibly the best in the country right now. But they have to be, it's got to be Pavia's got to have a Heisman-like performance. If they win, he's automatically going to be in those discussions heavily. But he's got to have a performance that is Heisman-like, I think, for them to have a chance to win.
Well, I think specifically they're going to have to hit a couple shots down the field, and they've done that to this point in the season, but the competition's about to go up. Now, we saw Florida State connect on a couple shots down the field. Week one is the Alabama defense the same defense today as they were in that game? Probably not. But I think we saw it last year, right? Like, there are a lot of really important plays in the game for Vanderbilt, whether it's the interception, you can point to a lot of different things. But, I mean, the shot they hit on fourth down, probably the biggest play of the game last year. So, with that in mind, like, you're going to have to – I'm with you. Like, I've got confidence that Vanderbilt's offense can move the ball. I've got confidence that they can score points. But I do think in this game, you're going to have to hit probably 2 or 3 shots down the field, either to score quickly or to give yourself or to move the ball, change field position really quickly. I think that's going to be really important. And we've talked about this with Pavia specifically. Like, it does feel like he has gotten a lot better at throwing the deep ball from last year to this year. And I think we're going to find out how much better in this game, because I think they're going to, if you're Alabama, you're looking at it, you just got gashed on the ground by Georgia. You know that Vanderbilt, while they've got a different rushing attack, can hurt you on the ground. I do think there's going to be a lot of attention from Alabama on trying to slow down Vanderbilt running the football. And I think that's going to leave them susceptible at times to one-on-one matchups on the outside. And you have to take advantage of that if you're Vanderbilt in this game. You just have to. You can't win if you don't.
No doubt. And look, if you're Alabama, that's the strategy that makes sense, because you got the Jimmies and Joes. They're the most talented team. Ohio State and Alabama, by the numbers, by the recruiting profiles, are the two most talented teams in college football. And you've got the guys. You should have the guys to be able to do that and play man and hold up. And I'm with you. Vanderbilt needs to make those shots hit. I agree. Like last year, that play, that fourth down with the touchdown, which is, Pavia's like, he's actually running forward and launches it. And then the tip pick. I mean, those are the two biggest plays of the game to me, and it's like plays like that, I think, are going to be needed. I got a Vandy fan says, goodness gracious, you sound like you're answering the keys to a Titans victory. Basically, everything has to be perfect. Give me my Vandy boys 35-31. I mean, I don't think we're disrespecting Vanderbilt. Like, you got to look at Alabama. Terrible game against Florida State aside, and all the circumstances. There is zero surprise ambush in this one. It's the opposite of that, right? I mean, you have to take that into account.
Speaking of the Titans, how many points are the Titans scoring on Sunday? Ian?
Will they make 20? Will they make it to 20? That asking too much.
I think it might be. I'm going 16.
No Ridley.
16 is my answer, and I'm stretching to get to 16.
Give me 11, just as some weird number. The Titans go to 11 this week.
All right. They'll get at
Touchdown,
least
they go for 2 and get a field goal.
1 touchdown, couple of field goals. 13.
13. So 11, 13. I'm the most optimistic and say 16. Boy, if that doesn't sum up where things are with this football team right now.
24-13 sounds about right.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. God bless
So
us.
anyway, back.
We're going to be watching that game on Sunday? Do we have to?
It's an afternoon game. Those 3 o'clock games
That's right in nap time.
Those make me even less likely to watch because I am just fantasy footballed early slate wiped out by 3. And I need like a break. I'll go walk outside and touch grass.
I mean, we kind of have to, though, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Maybe we should like do an experiment one week and not watch 1 second of the game and see if it.
I mean,
makes
to be
any
honest
difference
with you,
at all.
we
in the
could
show.
not watch 1 second of pretty
How
much
much
every
different-
game they've played the last 2 years, and
How much
probably have
different the show would
a
be.
pretty good idea of what happened.
How much better would our collective mental health be if we had not watched any Titans football in the last 3 years?
Probably significantly.
We'd be like the happiest. We'd be zippity doo-dah.
You wouldn't have been so down in the dumps about the Tigers. You'd have
You're
had
probably right.
faith the whole time.
I would have believed. Yeah. Would have been nicer to my neighbors, be in better shape, eat healthier foods.
Top tier on the YouTube
Wash my
chat
car more often.
says the Titans are a lock at plus 8.5, as long as Snead doesn't give up a 37-yard disaster play again. A lock at plus 8.5 from top tier on the YouTube chat. I like it. I respect the faith.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. It's nice to have alternative views, but boy, that's a bad take. I'm sorry. Yeah, first of all, as long as Snead doesn't screw something up big, okay, well, there's a good luck counting
Big
on
if.
that.
Yeah.
And like Ian just said, I mean, so you take, as bad as it's been with Ridley, out there, you take him away. My goodness. I mean, Io Manor has been a nice story early in the season. He's not a wide receiver one. He never will be. And so then you get into, boy, how stodgy could this be without even that threat of Ridley?
Enjoy it this weekend. We will be back Monday morning at 6 o'clock. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.